Do you know why I cried on election night?
Because you thought it was a restoration of the Judeo-Christian values
Partly.
that are inherent to
It's
the Constitution.
Let me tell you why, because I think you might appreciate this as a historian. Joe Biden sent the entire federal government after Turning Point USA and me personally. They wanted me in federal prison.
Right.
And by the way, that's what despots do, not
Sure.
Donald Trump. Let me finish. And so when Donald Trump won, it was a sigh of relief that maybe I won't have to go to federal prison.
Sure.
Maybe I can actually be around my kids.
Yeah.
And maybe we can live in a free society.
Guys, I have to make a quick video because the more and more I watch this thing go down and the more YouTubers I watch, I was so confused because I'm watching all these videos and I'm like, what? There's never any evidence presented. Ever. And the more and more I'm watching these videos and the more I'm watching everything go down, I'm realizing, and more for the comments and the videos, that people are confusing motive with evidence. And I mean, I understand why. In all the movies that you watch, every single crime buster, it's always about why someone wanted someone to get croaked or the reasoning behind it. It's not actually about the evidence. You know, you look at some of these shows and it's all about the storyline and it's some crazy big story. And I think people have wanted this to be some crazy big story because they can't believe just some dweeb did this. It has to be some crazy big story. And therefore the evidence is these crazy narratives and not actual evidence. They're using motive as evidence. And let me show you a little bit better, okay? And guys, this applies to all sides of this investigation, whether you're on the side that is like aliens on Timpanogos, or if you think the government is hiding stuff but just trying to be sneaky about it, or if you're somewhere in the middle. This applies to all of these sides, no matter which side you're on, okay? We need to base everything on evidence and not on motive, okay? For example, a criticism I have for my own investigation and my own maybe bias is I am pretty sure that it was these leftists that did it. Why? We do have evidence that they knew about it, okay? Those texts that they posted and those posts that they posted on Twitter and on Instagram and on other places, okay, that is actual evidence of them knowing about it. So we have absolute evidence that they knew about it, okay? Do we have absolute evidence or really any evidence that they helped plan this thing? I don't know, okay? And so I know sometimes I'm a little bit overly confident in saying that they did it because we don't exactly have the exact evidence that they planned it or had anything to do with it. However, we have the evidence that they knew about it beforehand, and there's evidence that shows that Lance Twiggs and maybe even Tyler Robinson was in some of these groups with these same people who did post knowing about it, and that leads me to believe that they maybe were helping to plan it, but at least they knew about it. We have absolute evidence that they knew about it. Now, that's one of the reasons why I would hope that some of these more powerful podcasters, more powerful YouTubers, and more powerful people who have way bigger followings than I do, because I have 0 subscribers at this point, would actually investigate this, because maybe we could find the evidence on if they were actually involved or if they just knew about it. So that's a criticism I have for myself, and I'm open to more criticism, and I'm open to more recommendations on what you think I should do from here on out. But I just wanted to make sure you guys know that I'm not saying that, oh, the other side has no evidence at all, and I have all the evidence, and my investigation is perfect, and my theory is perfect. No, my theory is not perfect at all either. I don't have all the evidence. I hope the FBI is looking for that evidence, and maybe the FBI and the police do have that evidence, and they're just keeping it a secret for the trial. I don't know. Right? But I just wanted to make sure you guys knew I'm not just saying that it's like when I say crazy narratives, I mean the actual crazy ones. Like, is there any evidence that it came from Mars? Are there any evidences that it came from the top of Mount Timpanogos? There are some other ones that I think are a little bit more out there. But guys, I'm basing this all on the evidence, and I haven't seen any evidence for a lot of these theories. And I'm not saying that you're dumb or stupid for thinking them. I'm just saying, like, I need the evidence personally, right? And I think that we all need to base this on evidence. And what this video here is about is helping people understand the difference between evidence and motive, because I think a lot of people are confusing the two, are confusing motive for evidence. And guys, the reason this is important is there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people who would have a motive to take out someone like Charlie Kirk, okay? I mean, for non-political reasons, because he was super rich, super wealthy, that could be, any of those things could be motives. Because of political reasons, because of his politics and trying to silence him, to like Israel, if he was going to leave the pro-Israel cause, to, if there was some kind of an audit going on, to just people didn't like him, he offended somebody at some debate sometime. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of people who would have motive, but motive doesn't prove anything. And I think that's where a lot of people are coming up with a lot of these theories. They're like, well, 10 years ago, Charlie really offended this guy at the debate, and that guy's never been the same since. Therefore, that's proof that that guy did it. Well, no, there's no evidence. That's not evidence. There's no proof there, right? That would just be a motive, for example. All right, guys, and to help you guys understand this a little bit better, I'm not going to give you an entire criminal justice class because that would be crazy. But I'm going to try to, in like 3 to 5, maybe 6, 7 minutes, kind of give you an idea of the difference between motive and evidence. And guys, just to kind of break it down, in order for there to be a criminal act, there has to be 4 different things, okay? First, there has to be actus reus, mens rea, concurrence, and causality, okay? And what this means is actus reus is the act itself. Mens rea is the intent due to the crime, and then it has to be at the same time, and then it has to actually cause the harm. Let's just give an example, okay? Let's just say that there's a poor guy who's broke, and he really, really wants the inheritance from his dad, and so he's just waiting and waiting, and he can't wait for his dad to croak. He's told all of his friends, man, I just wish my dad would croak so I can get the millions of dollars that he has in his account because I'm broke, and I could really use that money. That is motive. It's not really a crime. It's a reason why he could commit the crime. If something happens, they're going to look and say, well, you had motive, but is there actually any evidence? This is not evidence. Just because he told his friends, I want that money, that's not evidence that he did anything to his dad. Okay? Okay. So let's just say that one day the dad is driving down the road, his brake line goes out, he crashes into a tree, he gets croaked. Okay, for this to be a crime, we have motive. This guy actually has to do the crime in order for that to be a crime. He can't just have motive and not do the crime. If the brake line has got old and he crashes, you can't say, well, his son said that he wanted the money, therefore it's evidence that he did this. Okay, and that's what we're seeing with Charlie Kirk. We're saying, well, TPUSA wanted to audit, therefore that's evidence that they took him. Or he criticized Israel, that's the motive. But really, that they're saying that's the evidence that they croaked him. It's not evidence, okay? Now, if at the same time, this guy's going around telling all of his friends, hey, I really, really can't wait for my dad to croak, and he actually goes and does it, and then they find fingerprints all over the brake lines, they find fingerprints near the car, they find his footprints by the car, they have cell phone data of him near the car, all around that same time period in the morning, right before his brake lines go out and crash into the tree. Now you have the act, because he actually did it. You have the intent and the motive that for doing it. And then you have the brake lines being cut, and then you have that causing the actual croaking of the dad. The evidence isn't the motive or the reason why he did it. The evidence is the fingerprints and all these things. Guys, the evidence can be circumstantial. There can be circumstantial evidence like, footprints near the house that aren't even near the car. But it's like, okay, well, you were in the area, even if it wasn't exactly like directly correlated, there's circumstantial evidence that can be looked at as well. I mean, guys, but the evidence is the fingerprints on the brake line, the fingerprints on the tool that was used to cut the brake line. All this stuff is the evidence. The motive is not the evidence, okay? At the same time, if the guy had gone and had the motive, had gone to the house, cut the brake line, and the guy hits the tree and then gets out of the car and he's fine, the crime changes. It isn't now a murder. It is now an attempted murder, right? Because he caused that to happen and he can prove the intent behind it was to croak him, even though he didn't, okay? But at the same time, if he does both those things, and then on the way, the guy gets in a car accident and it isn't related to that brake line, and some other car smashes him from behind and whatever happens, then there is no causation. So there's no crime anymore. The same thing goes with like car accidents, guys. If you are driving in the middle of the night and you're not being negligent, if you're not speeding, if you're not doing all these things, and some person just randomly jumps in front of your car, the act happened, but you didn't have intent, and it was just an accident. Because you didn't have an intent, it is no longer a crime. Anyways, guys, the point is you have to have all 4 of these things, and this right here, motive is not evidence. That's my main point for this whole video, to help you understand motive is not evidence. So when people are saying things like, well, he criticized Israel, that's evidence that they did it. Or the Egyptians were following them on airplanes, that's proof that they did it. One of the biggest ones that I see is they say if it's not a 30-06, then that's proof that Israel did it. Like, really? That doesn't make any sense at all, guys. Like, if it's not a 30-06, it's proof that Israel did it. If it's not a 30-06, it's proof that the Egyptians did it. If it's not a 30-06, it's proof that the TPUSA did it. If it's not a 30-06, it's proof that all these random people did it. It's not proof of anything, guys. Even if you could prove that it was not a 30-06, it would just prove that it was not a 30-06. It wouldn't prove that all these other theories are correct, if that makes sense. It's not a contradictory thing. It's not something that contradicts something does not prove something else in most cases. Especially not this one. Guys, the more and more I've watched a lot of these theories, it seems like most of these are people trying to find the best motive. And they're trying to prove that the best motive is the one that has actually happened, when it's the actual evidence that people need to be looking for. And that's why I've made this section. All right, guys, let's say there's an incident where a guy is ran over. There's tire marks over the body. The guy's watch is missing. The guy's phone is missing. The guy's shoes are missing. He has been stabbed a couple times. Maybe his fingernails are missing. And he's just laying there, okay? Now, let's just say an investigation starts, and how the investigation goes is, let's just say that they go to his son's house, and they find out his son is broke. They find out that his son wants the money from the inheritance. He's told a couple people that, and the father has a large inheritance that he's going to get in the will once his father passes away. That's his motive. Let's just say that he has a business partner that he's on a trust with or on a business with, whatever, and let's just say that if this guy passes away, that he inherits the entire business. And then let's just say that, his wife got a huge life insurance policy on him. And if he passes away, she gets the life insurance policy. Okay. So all three of those people have motive. One's going to get the inheritance, one's going to get the life insurance policy, and one is going to inherit the business from this guy. But then they also present a fourth option. On this fourth option, they have a video of this guy running over the victim in his car 2 or 3 times. They have a video of him getting him with a knife. They have the knife in this guy's car that has the DNA of the victim. They find fingernails under this guy's shirt when he was trying to defend himself. They find this guy's phone. They find this guy's shoes. They find other evidence from this victim in this guy's car, and they're presenting this to the judge. And the judge is sitting there going, what's the motive for this one? And the prosecutor's like, we don't know the motive yet, but we have all the evidence. We have the security footage. We have the fingernails that this guy tried to defend himself. We have the DNA on the knife in this guy's car. We have the video of him running him over. We have all this evidence against him. Oh, and he also confessed to his best friend that he did this. Oh, and he also told friends he was going to do this beforehand. And the judge goes, well, that motive doesn't really sound that great. I really, really, really like the business partner motive. That one sounds really epic. Let me put this out on Twitter real quick and just see how people feel about it. And everyone comes back and says, well, 20% say the son has the best motive, 40% say that the business partner has the best motive, 20% the wife has the best motive, and like 5% say that the guy with the evidence that it all points to didn't have really any motive at all, so therefore it can't be him. It has to be the business partner because their feelings dictate that was the most epic, bestest motive in the world. That is basically what's going on here, and it's ridiculous. Guys, how an actual investigation goes, and what maybe some of these people who are saying stuff like this do not understand, is an investigation is all about the evidence. That has nothing to do with motive. Okay. A lot of the times when you're looking for motive is when you are trying to solve a crime and you can't find out who that person is. The person gets away. There's not really any security footage. There's not very much evidence at the scene. And therefore you have to kind of start looking into who would want to do this. And then you go kind of reverse investigate and try to find evidence from that. You're going to go look at those people. You're going to interview them. You're going to get search warrants possibly for their cell phone and different types of subpoenas and stuff like that to try to find the evidence that they did it because you couldn't find any on the scene. That's where motive kind of comes in a lot of the times, where you're trying to actually like solve something that you couldn't solve before without looking into people who would have motive, if that makes sense. But guys, even in these cases, the motive does not replace the evidence. You still have to find the evidence to present that in order to catch these people. So even if someone gets away and they have to use motive to try to catch that person, they're still looking for the evidence. The evidence is what convicts them, not, well, this is the most epic piece of motive, so therefore it was them. All right, guys, we need to look at these motives real quick and kind of go over a couple of things. Let's just look at a few specific ones, okay? Because, like I said, it's not evidence. Motives are not evidence. But let's just look at the strength of motive versus other motives, okay? Because I think who had the biggest motives to do this was far woke leftists, communists, deep state. I think these people are the ones that actually had the biggest, hugest motive to take him out. The most legit motives to take him out, right? And all the evidence. But let's just say motive... Let's just say motive, okay? Because supposedly motive is the most important thing. Let's look at some of these other motives that people have, okay? Let's look at TPUSA, guys. TPUSA has a bunch of stuff coming out about their financials, and they have different companies that they've set up in different states and all these things, and they've spent way more in an election year than in a non-election year, and all this stuff. I'm going to say 2 points real quick on this one. Number one, during election years, TPUSA's whole entire purpose is to be a group that supports candidates and lobbies and does all this stuff Of course, they're going to spend way more money during election years than non-election years. To say that it's suspicious that there was no spending in 2021 and then all of a sudden some spending in 2022 and then no spending in 2023 and then a huge amount of spending in 2024 and then not very much spending in 2025, like it's some suspicious, crazy conspiracy thing. Guys, those are election years. When Donald Trump's running for president, TPUSA is spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars on campaigns to get Donald Trump elected. When no one's up for re-election, there's no money being spent. It's not suspicious. It's normal. All right, guys. Then we have these things about them making all their businesses at different things in different states and everything like that. And guys, this is just something that normal companies do, especially when it's political pressure against them to have them arrested or thrown in jail or fined or to punish them for freedom of speech or in case of lawsuits. For example, if you are a conservative and you're operating out of, Florida, and then you go to California and you go to a campus and you hurt someone's feelings and they want to sue you for all you got. And now they can take your whole entire business because they're going to sue you and the judge in California is going to award them whatever they want because, they hate you and you're turning people against the liberal cause. You're going to open an LLC in California and operate in California as the California LLC instead of the Florida one. And that way, if they want to come after you, it's like, hey, here's my California business. It's worth $10, right? There's just a lot of stuff like this that goes on that's normal. It's not fishy. It's not weird. It's not crazy. And guys, even if it was, let's just say the TPUSA was doing crazy stuff and illegal stuff and doing all kinds of money laundering and all this stuff, the government and the IRS, especially underneath Joe Biden, has been trying to go after TPUSA for years. For years. So what you're telling me is the IRS has been going after TPUSA and Charlie Kirk for years, at least a decade, okay? And even when Trump's the president, guys, there's still deep state actors and there's still government, like 90% of government employees are liberals and leftists. They're still working against us, even when Donald Trump is the president. And you're telling me that for like 10 years, they've been going after Charlie Kirk and after TPUSA and they haven't found anything? But there's something that they should have found, but they didn't find it, even though they're the ones that would have loved to find it the most.
Joe Biden sent the entire federal government after Turning Point USA and me personally. They wanted me in federal prison.
So, guys, the reason why this one is so unbelievable to me is that you're telling me that the IRS and a bunch of other government agencies underneath Joe Biden for years and years and years has been digging through all of Charlie Kirk's, the TPUSA's records, all their business filings, all of their taxes, everything that they have to do as a business, and couldn't find anything. But somehow some guy was able to go on Google for 10 minutes and find everything that the IRS and all of these agencies would have needed to throw him in jail. To me, it just doesn't pan out, guys. I don't think there's anything there at all. Let's look at some other motives and see what strengths that there are or weaknesses. Let's look at Israel. The Democrats and leftists have been trying to weaken support of Israel for many, many years, okay? And I don't know what I think about Israel. I don't think we should be sending them millions and millions of dollars. I don't think we should be sending Ukraine millions and millions of dollars. I don't think we should be sending anybody millions and millions of dollars. It still turns out we're sending like millions of dollars and billions of dollars to Afghanistan, still to the Taliban. Like, what the heck, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? I don't think we should be doing any of these things, but I also don't think that we should allow them to be wiped off the face of the earth. However, we know that the leftist goal for many years has been all this free Palestine stuff and, get rid of Israel, wipe them off the map and all this other stuff, right? And the conservative support has been somewhat, there's kind of a divide, but, way more support than the leftist side, right? The leftist side support is way down here and it always has been. And the conservative side is kind of split between here and really high support, right? So what is the motive between Israel taking out Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk criticizes them a couple times. Even after Charlie Kirk criticizes them a few times, even if he just leaves the cause, the support is still pretty high among all the ones that support them high. Maybe this middle group drops down a little bit less, but they were still being supported. They were still having the majority of the conservative side support. So let's just say that's their motive. Charlie Kirk criticized them a little bit, said he was leaving the cause. That's their motive. What happens after they take out Charlie Kirk, guys? What have we seen? We've seen the conservative side, the ones that were supporting them way up here, have dropped down to like right here, and the ones that were in the middle are like vroom, no support at all, like equal to the leftists. Sounds like they got a lot of their motive, right? Like, usually when you have a motive to do something, it's usually to better your case and to better where you're standing somewhere or to come out on top. Like, if you're telling me they did this thing and they've tanked their entire, like, reputation among conservatives completely and their support on purpose? Like, that one doesn't pan out to me at all. Okay, let's look at TPUSA. TPUSA probably has the least amount of motive to do this, because now, like, half the country hates their guts. Half the country that used to love them and used to love Charlie Kirk and love TPUSA is now dead set that they're the ones that did it. So same situation as Israel. Now their reputation is in the tank and they are in the dumps, and you still have, I mean, they still have some support, right? But like not nearly as much as before. Seems like they got a lot out of their motive, right? All right, let's look at the Republican Party. Some people that the Republican Party as a whole, or the government that was elected by Charlie Kirk, is involved somehow. Okay, so before they did this to Charlie Kirk, Charlie is attributed to getting Donald Trump by 2.8 million votes. Donald Trump wins by 2.3. TPUSA and Charlie Kirk essentially got Donald Trump and a lot of other people elected during that election. Republicans have been so united, so strong, kind of on like a rocket ship straight up in the air on course for winning, pretty much not just winning, but steamrolling the midterms, steamrolling in 2028, and who knows how much longer. The Democrats have been in the hole. They are losing. They are in a terrible position. And then what happens after the Charlie Kirk incident? All of a sudden, the Republicans are in turmoil. You have like 15 different parties fighting over which theory is correct, whether the Republican Party did it themselves, whether it was the feds, the actual government, not the deep state, guys. People are blaming the actual federal government that Charlie himself elected, and all this other stuff. So you have like 10, 15 different, 20 factions infighting. We're probably going to lose the midterms. We're probably going to lose the next election for the presidency. So it really seems like that motive didn't work out so well. Like, what's the motive, guys? What purpose? Like I said, usually a motive makes your situation better, not worse. So I just don't see it. I don't see where doing this for the Republicans, TPUSA, Israel, any of these people, I don't see where it gives them a better situation. So how's that a good motive? How's the motive behind to help them? Because, guys, if you look at every single crime, why does someone rob the gas station? They rob the gas station because they want to get more money in their pocket. Why does someone embezzle money? They usually want to embezzle money to get money in their pocket. Why does someone break out of jail? They usually break out of jail because their incentive and their motive is to get out of jail and be free and live somewhere else. When someone robs the gas station, their motive isn't to get thrown in prison or get caught by the police. When someone, embezzles money, their main goal isn't to get caught and thrown in prison for 50 years for embezzlement. When someone escapes prison, their goal isn't to get caught again and spend more time in prison. Yet, all these people theorizing to put all these motives out there, their motives are all exactly the same as that. And not only are these just motives, there's no evidence for them at all whatsoever, but let's look at the motive for who I think really did this. If you look at the leftists and the Democrats and the deep state, those parties are the ones that had stuff to gain. Like I mentioned before, guys, the Republicans were on a straight course to steamroll. Now that's all broken. That is a great motive. And there's a bunch of evidence that leftists knew that this was going to happen and maybe were involved in planning it. So not only do we have a motive that makes sense, taking out one of the highest, most influential conservatives in the movement, stifling the Republican Party and causing confusion, stirring malice towards everyone, taking people that used to be friends and putting them all against each other, stirring confusion, making them blame the Republican Party even. And now we're going to lose all these elections because of it. That's a way better motive, and these people get way more out of it than Israel and TPUSA and the Republican Party, who all lose because of their motive. Okay, do you see how that works? It's a way better motive for these people. They get rid of someone they hate, that they've been trying to get rid of for years through the IRS and the government. They got rid of him by taking him out, just like they tried to take out Donald Trump and other people. I would also like to point out who was dancing in the streets after this was done. It wasn't TPUSA. It wasn't Israel. It wasn't Egypt. It wasn't the French. It wasn't Erica Kirk. It wasn't Donald Trump. It wasn't JD Vance. It was a bunch of leftists on Instagram and on TikTok and on YouTube and on Facebook, jumping up and down, celebrating their victory. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to take a quick examination of these motives and which ones were the best and which ones were the weakest, because usually when there's a motive, the person doing the motive gets something out of it. It doesn't make the situation worse. It usually makes the situation better if they get away with it. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to kind of help you kind of clear out and show you guys that the difference between motive and evidence, and I hope that's clear now. So next time you watch someone say all these things, like the reasoning behind something is not evidence of the actual thing happening. Anyways, guys, let's move on.